Welcome to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. You know who he is. You know who I am. He's Emil Calamino. I'm Chad Wilson. And we are here. We are on bowl season. Bowl season has started, and we are winding it down in the NFL. We are getting into playoff position. We are separating the pretenders from the contenders and vice versa and all that good stuff. So we are happy to be here in what is now week 15 of the NFL season, and we are headlong into the college bowl season. I think we've had about six,
Time out. We're at week 16 coming up.
Well, yes, of course, yes, because we have bye weeks along with the 17 games of football that each team must play. So yes, we are into week 16. My very esteemed accountant friend on the show has told us, got to keep the numbers straight. Got to keep those numbers straight. All right, we got some stuff to get into today. College football, NFL football, recap some picks from last week, both from college, from the college bowls as well as the NFL. And then, of course, what many of you have come here for. It is the picks from Emil Calamino and Chad Wilson. So some bowl games are going to pop off before our next broadcast. And, of course, there's NFL action this week, so we will get to all of that. Emil, something was said last week by a, very, what's the word? I guess famous college football coach.
Made
a lot of sense. And, it got passed around. Happy that it did. And cool to hear it coming from someone who has some chops and would be listened to, and certainly not someone on your level and my level in terms of attention. We don't coach a college football team. And by that, admission, we don't have access to the public at large. However, in a way, what Chip Kelly said about college football and conferences had already been duly thought out by you and I and planned, and we'd had several shows about it, and it was just really cool to.
And years ago, by the way, I mean, if you go back into the archives, I'm betting that the first time we broached that on a show and actually put something together was probably 5 years ago.
Maybe even longer than that, but yes. And I went through a whole painstaking task.
You wrote a nice article about it that was posted on one of your websites. We did a complete show where you and I made 4 geographically, what I would say, correct conferences.
Yeah, you're an accountant. South. You're an accountant.
Yes.
And I'm a guy who likes order to things. So between the two of us, we came up with this magical idea of having teams in their region being in the same conference. And Chip Kelly.
And you know what? Not only we had the number exactly of what Chip Kelly suggested. We had 64 teams because it made sense.
Yes.
In 4 geographically correct conferences with 2 divisions in each conference, which they would magically play each other at the end for the conference title.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome if you could just do it? Just makes way too much sense. You know what struck me, though? When Chip Kelly said our softball team should be playing Arizona in during their season. UCLA softball team shouldn't have conference games against Maryland or Rutgers next year. Just doesn't make sense. On the football scale, it doesn't make sense either, but it's a little easier to swallow when we're talking about football. But when you're talking about softball or you're talking about volleyball or even basketball or any of the other sports not named football, when you're talking about USC and UCLA having to play Maryland or having to even just play Penn State and call that a conference game, it really hit home to me like what was done here.
Now this is true. And this is where I feel bad for these kids. Well, to an extent, they're still going to get to play college sports at a high level. I feel bad for them in the Pac-12 because it's a step down in almost every other sport. When, Bill Walton, I like to make fun of because he sits there during a basketball telecast and going, the Conference of Champions. But here's the thing, and
he's speaking on facts, though.
You can look this up. Now, and remember something when I give you this. USC's 11 national championships in football are not included in this because they're not considered an NCAA sport. The top 3 schools in all-time championships, NCAA championships: Stanford, UCLA, USC. All of them have well over 100. The next school is something like Oklahoma State with 55. You can look it up. Men's sports, number 1 is USC. Then I think number 2 is Stanford, number 3 UCLA, number 2 is UCLA, number 3 Stanford. USC's women's program is not nearly as good on a grand scale, even though it's good, as Stanford and UCLA's. But their men's programs are number 1, and that's without the football championships.
Yeah.
So you add them in. So they're going backwards in the Pac-12, to your point, other than football.
Yes. Aside from being ripped out of a awesome conference for all these other sports, there's just the travel of it. And, you know, football's a weekly sport. But for a lot of these other sports, they're going to occur during the week. And so, you know, a travel on Wednesday out to Maryland or Rutgers, if you're USC or UCLA, or vice versa, Rutgers or Maryland going out west to Los Angeles on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for a volleyball or a basketball game or even a softball game or whatever, man, it just doesn't feel like it's right. But
you're a baseball fan, right? Now, I'm not necessarily a great college baseball fan, but you follow Miami. I'm sure they always have a good program. You get more jazzed if you're watching college baseball at night about turning on the USC Arizona State game, two of the great programs in the history of college baseball. Or would you like to see USC playing Michigan in baseball?
Exactly. Nothing to it there for me. And I would imagine so for a whole bunch of other fans. So Chip Kelly's right. Everyone should be independent when it comes to football, and shouldn't be constrained to a particular conference, so to speak, unless we're going to be regionally correct, like he said, 64 teams, and then putting them into the 8 different conferences and do what you need to do with the division, split them half and half, whatever. And then he did add the whole thing with, you can do like they do in the NFL. Hey, one year this conference, let's say it's the West Conference, is going to play the South Conference, and, you know, vice versa. That's cool too.
I almost feel like, what are we doing at this point? Because there's such a general differentiation between the Power 5 schools in terms of resources and everything else. Like, in other words, you have a record at the end of the year, whatever, you're 12-0. But my God, if one of the wins was against North Alabama and another one was against, Kent State. I mean, it's like saying the Miami Dolphins went 16-0, and they have 2 wins against American Heritage, another St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, come on.
All right. No, I totally believe in that. The next part of this would be, you and I did it on the show, but how do you kick some teams out to make that 64 school conference in terms of football, like, without being sued?
Well, I don't know the legalese of all this, because remember, to do this right, there'd have to be payments made to schools to break apart these media deals. There'd be a lot of legal wrangling, right? But it's going to come down to resources ultimately. And this isn't a criticism. It's just a point. They've done a great job, the school. I mean, use them. Wake Forest, okay? I went to a Jesuit university. It's Division III in sports. About 4,000 undergrad. It's about the size of Wake Forest. Wake Forest has 4,000 or 5,000 undergrad. I mean, it's hard for that kind of school, to compete at the level. Sure, every once in a while they'll have a one-off where they win 9 or 10 games, but generally speaking, it's very tough to compete. And if you really started eliminating those out-of-conference games where these schools ring up their 3 wins by scheduling properly to get to 7-5. I mean, I think it could be done based on just, come up with a metric in terms of resources that need to be available, but it wouldn't be as hard as you think. Because I think we could, like we've done, you can go through most of these conferences and just look and say, the eye test tells me that school doesn't belong playing in this type of deal.
Yeah, I would love to see the day come when we're able to do that. make a 64 team conference. Let's organize this thing. Let's regionalize people, teams. Let's have schools play teams with as much as we can equal talent.
Well, I mean, let's look at you. You're an SEC country, sort of. I mean, we could probably go through. How many times in the last 50 years has Vanderbilt won 5 SEC games in a season? Because they play 8, right? So I'm just asking them to be above 500.
Have they ever? I don't.
That's my question. And I'm not trying to pick, again, it's not picking on them. What I'm trying to say is Vanderbilt's a great school. Want to play baseball? Great school to play baseball at. Nice basketball program. Occasionally they step up in class and they'll beat the Kentuckys of the world. They'll pull the upsets. But I mean, let's be honest. They're in the SEC because of tradition. They don't belong in the SEC.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit down again. You know, I've got to take a nice long plane ride tomorrow. If I can remember all of the teams, maybe I would sit here and say what would be the top 64 teams off the top of my head without looking at any numbers in terms of resources, attendance, revenue, whatever the case may be. What would be 64 teams that I would put here? And then how, now that I've got this, what I believe in my mind to be the top 64 college football programs existing in the country, how would I now arrange those into 8 different conferences, trying to keep it as regionally correct as possible? Maybe that's a little.
What we need to do, and I'm going to try to make a point of it. I know you'll remind me. I'm going to try to do some research after the season this year with the bowl games, just to see what the type of TV viewership was, because, you know, I know, and I always want to guard against this being the cranky old guy, because everybody thinks everything was better before, right? But I know what my own personal level of interest was in the Bulls, and knowing you over 20 years, I know what yours was, and I know mine is like significantly smaller. I mean, my wife was just saying today to me, hey, they start playing bowl games. I know she haven't been watching. I said, I'll watch 5. She said, which 5? I said, well, I'll stop in the USC game because I'm a USC fan. I'll watch Penn State play Mississippi because I find the game interesting and I'm in Penn State country. I'll watch the 2 playoff games in the championship. There's my 5. If I happen to be totally bored some night with nothing on Netflix or Amazon Prime, maybe I'll accidentally stumble across another one. So I'm just curious, because where we're at in college football is a weird time for me. I think the bowl games are exhibitions.
We've reached that point, and the bar has now gotten low because of the need to fill these teams in there. I believe teams have gotten in now with 5 wins.
No, but yes, that's one of it. But let's look at one of the best games on paper. Okay. We've got Florida State playing Georgia. Florida State is already up by my count to at least 7, probably more guys, because they had a veteran team that will forego this game for the NFL draft. And I don't blame them, but my point is that would be unthinkable 20 years ago. You've got a 12-1 Georgia team playing a 13-0 Florida State team in a game, I think, that pays $16 million or something per school.
Mm-hmm.
And the best players aren't even interested in playing in it.
Yeah, it's kind of lost its meaning, and I just went and looked this up. My senior year at the University of Miami, throw a number out there as to how many bowl games you think there were that year.
Well, you graduated, you were on the 94 was your senior year. So that's almost 30 years ago. I'm going to say there was 27.
Appreciate that. What's
You're
that?
welcome. 27.
No, 19 bowl games.
19 bowl games. It meant something to be in a bowl game.
It meant something to be in a bowl game. It was a thing. If you made it to a bowl game, now there's just so many ways to backdoor your way into a bowl game. Do you know the number that we have now? I don't off the top of my head.
I know it's in the 40s, and I know that they actually had to get waivers this year because teams like James Madison, who stepped up from FCS, where they were a powerhouse, there's a waiting period to be eligible. They had a nice year. I think they went 11-1, 10-2. They would have made a bowl game. They petitioned. They said, no, not unless there's not enough teams. Well, by damn it, there wasn't enough teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Sponsors have gotten into this thing. So long as someone is willing to sponsor and pay out money to certain people, you can get your name on a bowl game and they'll create a bowl game.
But to your bigger point, to your senior year, that was the game you guys played Nebraska in the Orange Bowl, right? You
Correct.
guys, I mean, nobody was skipping that game. And I get why they're skipping it now. The point is the game meant something to you.
It did. It
These
most
games are
definitely
just
did.
flat. These games are flat out exhibitions now, especially when you combine it with our next topic, kind of a little segue here for us, the transfer portal. I mean, you
Yeah.
combine the two.
Emil, we've talked about this, all right. And granted, we've two guys that have been around for a little while, and so you could just throw aside our whole argument that we're going to make, or not even an argument, just some of the comments that we're going to make to us having been around for quite some time and just not being able to adjust. I'm fine. I'm adjusted. I can watch college football. I'll
Yeah.
watch the games. I can watch the games with an eye for the strategy that it's taken place, or this storied program against this storied program, like we're going to get Alabama versus Michigan, or we're watching Ohio State versus Michigan, or Texas versus Oklahoma. I'm cool. I can do that. I have no problem with that. At the end of the day, it's football. It's running, it's tackling,
Right.
it's great plays, it's athleticism on display. I'm cool. I'm good with that. Here's where I'm having the problem. And it's with not being able to attach myself as a fan to any of the players on any of the teams. Like, I don't want to use the word care, but be invested in a player that's on a team.
What you're really looking at, and I'll explain this to our audience because I have a feeling this is a little bit off my text rant the other night. I started getting buzzed on my phone with USC transfer portals. Who this guy's in the portal, that guy's in the portal. And I went off on Chad and I just said, for those who don't follow the show, little history. Chad's a diehard Yankee fan. I'm a diehard Dodger fan. I would say that's one sport you follow. Chad went to Miami, so he obviously follows Miami. And I follow USC, as everyone knows. Chad never had, he was a pro football fan. And I said to him in 1987, he divorced himself of an NFL team when the Rams traded Eric Dickerson. I'm a diehard Cowboy fan and still am. But I said to him, USC is about to go the route of your LA Rams for me. And what I mean by that is, yeah, I'll watch their games, but I can't invest any emotional energy in an 18-year-old kid that transfers every other year. I mean, I'll watch it. I still like the uniforms and the pageantry. I'm not going to tell you that, but I can't get too worked up about it anymore like I used to because it's just different.
There's only certain amount of deaths that you can die. And so for someone that's a diehard college football fan of a particular team, I get how you feel. There's no more of the freshman tailback that came in and we watched him grow into a man before our eyes.
Right.
There's no attachment to a player as he goes through the process. We watched this happen with college basketball. And I'm going to say this because some people may take this as, okay, well, where was all this energy? Whereas the college football coaches were going to here and there and wherever they wanted to do. I'm 100% with you on that. I think the big failure in the NCAA and whoever runs college football, the people that we think run it, or whatever mythical organization or people that gods that run it behind the scenes, the big fail for them was starting there, I think, allowing college football coaches to hop from here to there, because I'm here to tell you that is a hardship for players. Imagine going through a recruiting process, which for most starts in their junior year, for some sophomore year, and you're a young 15, 16-year-old, and you're going through this process, and throughout the process, you're attaching yourself to a certain coach or a certain amount of coaches. So the head coach, the coordinator for your side of the ball, plus the position coach. And you've attached yourself to that person, and you go through this process, and over the course of 2 or 3 years of your young life, you are now convinced that this is the man for me. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to be a part of. He says, I will lead you and I want to follow. I want to do what it is that they're talking about doing at this school, playing in that defense or in that offense, or for that coach to do X, Y, Z. And you go through that whole process. You sit down with your parents, because it is a drawn out process, as someone who went through it himself and twice with his sons. It is a process. A lot of hemming and hawing and back and forth and everything. You go through that whole process. You go to a school, you're there, and coach picks up and leaves. Not only that, for some of these kids, man, you'll be in a program, if you spend 4 or 5 years, you could see 3 different coaches. I did not sign up for the next guy that came on.
No.
The next guy is not necessarily interested in what it is that I bring to the table. I don't fit their system, the mindset, whatever. He's got promises that he's going to bring in other guys. We all saw Deion Sanders' speech that he made when he first arrived to Colorado. And he might have been right in doing that. But I didn't sign up for whatever that coach is doing.
But to your point, there was ways to have handled this with an eye toward what you're saying and creating a portal where when those changes occurred, you had immediate access to not sitting out and playing versus a static situation where the coach is still in place and you want to transfer. And they used to make you, they could have kept the 1 year waiting period.
You're not, wait, time out. You're not the first person to say that. Here's the problem though. When the transfer portal is not open, so in that situation, it's not open to everyone. It's only open to the schools where there's been a coaching change. There becomes an imbalance. You understand?
Yeah.
So players can only leave from this school and go to whatever school they want, and you know where they're going to end
listen, up. It's tough situation. All I'm going to say is without any kind of restrictor plate, steal some NASCAR there for you, on the system, what they've really created. I'm like you, just so I'm on the record. I watch the college football games. I mean, I won't watch these bowl games. I don't watch exhibition NFL games either. But I watch college football like everyone else here. We do a football show. I love it. I watch it all year. I watch it the way you watch it. But personally, for me to be emotionally invested, it's like you said, a kid comes in. I know, okay, he's a freshman. 99% of these guys are going to stay the 3 to 4 years. I'm going to watch them develop. I get an emotional attachment. Okay, because this guy, that's what sports is. We're emotionally attached. I watch this guy play and develop. That's what's fun about it. Hell, I'm more certain I know the core group of Cowboys that are going to be around for 3 to 5 years than I am who's on the college team.
And you're not being facetious in saying that. That's really what it is. They can leave whenever they want. There's no restrictions. There's no contract. There's nothing.
No, I mean, people used to laugh when you and I remember we come from an era when guys would be on an NFL team for 10 years.
Yes.
So, when free agency came along and it was 3 and 5 year stints, people were like, oh, everybody's switching teams all the time. Well, if you think that's bad, I mean, this is the NFL on steroids.
It's insane. And you've got a younger group of people making these decisions now. And there's no purity in the process because it's not even just about starting anymore. All right. You could kind of work yourself up into understanding a quarterback leaving because he's the second guy. And the way quarterbacks go, you really only play one, whatever the case may be. Now they're being induced off of one team onto another team by NIL deals and things of that nature. And Emil, there's no more the freshman running back Barry Sanders that we are going to now, oh man, I wait till this guy is a junior or senior at Oklahoma State. There's just no more of that anymore.
Or look at the situation, and it went on throughout the country the last 2 weeks because I think we're up to about 2,000 kids in the portal. But, a couple 5 stars transferred, okay? First of all, UCLA lost Moore, the kid from Michigan. Now, he played. He started 5 games this year, and frankly, he played like a true freshman. He wasn't good.
Yeah.
He's playing with a guy who's generally considered a quarterback-friendly coach in Chip Kelly, at least the college level.
Sure.
He bounces.
Yeah.
Because he got benched because, he was throwing pick sixes like they were going out of style when I saw him playing for UCLA this year, okay? USC's got a 5-star. Malachi Nilsson, right? Am I saying his first name correct?
Yes.
Comes in, coming off a shoulder injury to his other shoulder. Not going to play. He doesn't expect to beat out Caleb Williams. Fine. He doesn't play much this year. It's a red shirt. As soon as he hears Lincoln Riley is in the portal, then what happened to the days of, fine, bring the guy in? It's USC. You got to assume they're going to bring guys in.
Right.
Beat him out. You're a 5-star. So what are you looking for? You're looking for someone to hand you a job at Indiana or something, or wherever you're going? Because that's the only place you're going to get handed a job. If you go to Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida State, you pick a guy. They're not going to hand you a job. You're going to have to beat someone out.
Yeah, man, this is it's amazing. And listen, we love sports, but we've got to also realize that part of sports, a big part of sports, is the human interest on one way or another. And I think we're going to lose that element in college football. And I'm just interested in seeing what happens in the future when that is actually the case. Maybe this new era, new wave of folks coming in just don't have that expectation, so it's no big deal to them.
Well, you interact with a lot of younger kids and people through your businesses. What do you see, or do you see anything with college football fans and how they feel about this? Because I don't know how, like, from my seat, I can't get too jazzed up right now anymore having a fun argument locally with a Notre Dame fan being a USC fan. It's like we're both rooting for mercenaries. That's the way I look at it. We've got the sports become mercenary in nature, and your guy at Notre Dame might be playing for my guy.
Yeah, I haven't really taken that deep dive into actually how the fans feel. I know the players, the young ones that are coming out of high school, or those that have just entered into it, as well as you know, a lot of the parents are just seeing it as, for lack of a better term, they're mercenaries. These are opportunities, financially backed opportunities. And so if that opportunity is at Auburn this year, but then it's better, or the opportunity is at Mississippi next year, well, they'll just do that. And then if the following year the opportunity is now at Pittsburgh, they'll just do that, because it's about making these financial decisions that are going to be extending for the long term for the student athlete as well as the family. And you know, I sound like I'm making that pitch, but that is the mindset. So it's not even,
and that's, listen,
they don't care much about the traditions of college football.
and I understand that. Listen, the rules are set up, and in life, you've got to play within the rules to try to do the best you can, I think, morally and legally, right? So I don't blame the kids. That's the system that's set up. What I'm saying is, I look at what's happening, and I mean, how much the term used, we both use mercenary. I read an article this week, and you know, coaches will say stuff to reporters they trust, but not with their name. So on the record, not named. One Pac-12 coach made the comment. He goes, playing UFC this year was just like playing a group of mercenaries. Everybody was there trying to run up whatever statistics they could, you know, basically to get ready, you know, for the NFL. A lot of them, and he's like, that's just what it felt like when you played that school this year.
Yeah. What do you do, man, if you're a college football player and you played at 3 different schools and you make it into the NFL? Like, what game are you going to? We see Marcus Allen and Ronnie Lott on the sidelines at USC. We see Michael Irvin and Vinny Testaverde on the sidelines for the University of Miami. We'll see Derek Brooks, and we'll see, you know, other Florida, you know, Charlie Ward or whoever on the sidelines for Florida. What do you like? What do these guys do? Where are they going? What is their allegiance? Are they just, they have 3 different chances to be happy and talk shit on a Saturday because one of my 3 teams won? Like, what's the
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think, you know, and we'll move along after this because we hammered this pretty good, but it's an important topic in college football. But I think what you're really showing is there's a delineation when you and I have conversations, and this goes over to the NBA. You know, I think there's that guys 45 and over view it a lot differently than guys under 45. Like when we grew up with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Dr. J and Michael Jordan, you didn't join the other guy. You might respect them, but they were your rival. You're trying to figure out, how do I get this guy, this piece here to help me beat Larry Bird if I'm Magic Johnson, or if I'm Larry Bird, how do I beat Magic? I'm not going to go play with Magic. Then along comes this new generation.
How wild would that have been? Like Larry Bird.
Right. Well, the new generation, LeBron James started. It's like, well, it's not going too good here in Cleveland. Miami's nice.
Yeah, that would have absolutely have been wild. And so, yeah, Amo, this current generation was grandfathered into this. They were born into this. And so it's just their reality. They don't know anything else. You and I didn't know anything about the single bar face mask. Good riddance to it. We didn't.
I mean, and you don't miss what you never had.
Yeah, so I think maybe they'll just be all right, and we'll just be looking at it like, really, like, wow, he's the leading passer for this team. He was sure on that other team last year. Well, it is, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure there'll be more to come on this. There'll be changing of hands, By the way, Emil, this is a national signing day that we are actually.
I became aware of that this morning accidentally, and again, in the old days of like National Signing
That
Day,
was a big deal.
that was a big deal.
Damn near a holiday.
First Wednesday in February, which was the only National Signing Day.
Yeah. So yeah, this is
But
actually.
let's see. Maybe today they'll find some game managers.
Emil, I want to talk to you about that term. Listen, Cam Newton has had his podcast for quite some time, and he's built up a pretty good following. But it has never gotten more popular than a couple of weeks ago when he used the term game manager to describe great quarterbacks like Tua Tagovailoa and Brock Purdy and who else? And Dak Prescott. Yeah, how could I forget that? And I think even made mention of the names of Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and things of others of that ilk. These are great quarterbacks. I put a poll on my YouTube channel that said, at their peak, who would you rather have covered? Would you rather have for all of my cornerbacks out there, would you rather have wanted to cover a game changer like Randy Moss or a game manager like Jerry Rice? Well, who the hell told me to say that? I couldn't even get answers to the question in the comments. It was the objective.
No, but I know your point, and I'll tell you what, I'd rather cover. First of all, I couldn't cover either one of them. But assuming that I had that ability, I would rather cover Randy Moss because I think I can frustrate him on a good day and get in his head. Jerry Rice was a tactician, and I don't think it's as easy to get in his head.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. My answer to that question was this as well. As someone who played cornerback, who played in that era, who played in some NFL games, I would much rather cover Randy Moss than Jerry Rice.
Well, that's what I just said.
Jerry Rice was the person I put as a game manager. Randy Moss, the game changer. But certain people, seemingly fans, they object so much to that term game manager. And for me as a player, I don't really understand why. So I'm going to tell you quickly why I would rather cover Randy Moss. I don't want to deal with what it is Jerry Rice is going to bring for 60 minutes of a football game. It's full speed running all the time. It's full out blocking when it's a run play.
It's precise. His routes were precise.
Or it's a full on, if I'm in man coverage, sprint down the field on a damn run play, and I'm exhausted only to turn around that, man, this crap wasn't even real. It was a run play, and he's going to jog back, and he's going to be fine, and I'm going to probably be a little winded. He's going to run these precise routes. He's going to make catches. It's just 60 minutes of, damn, I've got to be on for every single snap. I at least know with Randy Moss. Man, if I'm smart, I watch film, I kind of know when he's going deep. I protect myself on that, put myself in good position. I know I'm going to get a few plays where I can just, okay, all right.
What you're politely saying is Randy Moss, for all the ability in the world, and probably much more physically gifted than Jerry Rice.
He's going
to take plays off.
Yes, but there's always that fear factor with the game changer that I could have it all right on one play, and this guy could jump over me, catch it, run away from me, 80-yard touchdown out of nowhere. There's that fear factor. That's what a game changer does. That's what a Cam Newton brought to the quarterback position. Man, there's going to be several plays where it's like, God damn, what kind of throw is that? But at that one moment out of freaking nowhere, he might tuck the ball under his arm and run through and around your entire defense for a 70-yard touchdown that totally flips the momentum around to his team.
And by the way, Cam Newton does it. By the way, he does a great job. His podcast is actually interesting.
It is a very good podcast. Yeah. And if he intentionally made that comment to get people there, genius. But
here's the thing,
answer this. Why do people have such a problem with the term game manager?
Because it sounds like a backhanded compliment, I think, to some fans in that you're instead of articulating it, he did a good job explaining the difference. And when he explains it like that, it's not actually you're not actually disrespecting somebody. But to a lot of fans, it has this connotation of you're saying the guy doesn't have athletic ability, and it's not that. Like give me an example. And we'll talk a little bit about this because it ties into two different guys that played Sunday. Now, he didn't throw the ball a lot on Sunday, but generally he does. Josh Allen's a game changer.
He is.
So he played very well on Sunday with what they asked him to do. He ran the offense, didn't make any mistakes. They clobbered my Cowboys. They were ready to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could go out and throw 3 picks on next week.
He could.
Because that's Josh Allen, okay? So you get wild swings. Now, obviously, he has more up than down because he's an excellent player, but you have wild swings. So the Bills don't always know what they're going to get from him. They can get the Josh Allen who throws 4 touchdowns, runs for 1, and beats well, he didn't do that Sunday, but you know what I mean, beats the Cowboys or Dolphins senseless.
Yes.
Or you can have Josh Allen that throws 3 picks and loses to the Broncos. You just don't know what guy you're going to get. A game manager tends to be more even in his performance.
Yes.
Not real high sometimes, but definitely not that low either.
Yes.
So
and you consistently listen. I'm at a loss as to why this hits people so hard. Game managers have been more successful in this league than the game changers. I'll throw out some game changers for you at the quarterback position. Dan Marino. We'd never seen an arm like that. Maybe even since, in terms of a quick release with the cannon to it and ball placement. Game changer. Michael Vick. Game changer.
Aaron Rodgers.
Cam Newton. Game changer. We've had that. How many Super Bowls between those 3 guys?
0.
How
about Aaron Rodgers? 1.
Okay, 1 out of 4. 4 guys put together for 1. Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We'll put Troy Aikman in there too because he was a stationary quarterback. Had a fairly strong arm. Start adding it up.
Yeah, no, listen, your point.
They're consistent. They last long. Give me the game manager. The game changer will scare the living hell out of you. So using your Josh Allen situation, we come into town, we're playing Josh Allen's team. We're just better. We're better than that team. We're up 21-0. We're doing what better teams do. But on a play, he throws 3 guys off of him with his hand cannon, throws it 65 yards down the field, hits Stephon Diggs, touchdown, 21-7. A series later, he gets the ball, runs forward through a blitz, trucks 2 guys, 50-yard touchdown. It's 21-14.
Yeah.
Now, I'm probably never going to get that from Dak Prescott.
Nope.
But Dak Prescott's more likely to have his team up 14-3 in the 3rd quarter. And that's just what it is.
And the other problem, this ties a lot to just a lot of fans get emotional. That's okay during the game, but I say always collect your thoughts and see if you really meant what you said during the game. Sunday, I had people telling me, see this, he was right about Dak Prescott. He's a game manager. Sunday had nothing to do with Dak Prescott, right? I mean,
no, and outside of the fact that he played how a game manager plays. Things have to be right around them, and they're really good when those things are right around them. You could have a game changer in that situation, and things are right around them, and they didn't show up that day. They weren't in game changer mode that day. And so the simple execution of plays and the decisions that have got to be made on the field and every play you've got to be there, they're not there. So everyone else was right on that day. The game changer wasn't, and you guys lost the game. But the game manager, 9 times out of 10, Emil, shows up, book open on the desk, ready for play that day, and you get more consistent performances. So to our fans and listeners out there, stop making game manager get you so emotional. Game managers are what that Hall of Fame is really comprised of. there are more guys where you say, man, if only, I wish he could have with the game changers. There's a whole bunch of those. And sometimes they get left out of the hall. They didn't deliver your team a Super Bowl, whatever.
In my lifetime, there's only two off the top of my head now, quick, game-changing quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame are Roger Staubach and John Elway.
Yeah, and I would even question you really on Staubach in terms of being a game changer.
Oh, no. Stop. Listen, I'm a little older than you.
Yeah, so you saw more.
Staubach was called Roger the Dodger for a reason. He was the dude. Yeah, he was the dude that was running around the ball, throwing it down the field. Then came Elway, and maybe the other guy, I'd say Steve Young.
Game changer.
Yes.
Yes. And let me draw this to you, I think, and I can close it out with this. For the majority of his career, John Elway was a game changer. Emil, he could scramble, athletic guy, could have played.
I know what you're going to say.
Could have played Major League Baseball. He had, I think at the time that he played, maybe the strongest arm. It was a debate
John
over
Elway,
him.
John Elway had one of the strongest arms I've ever seen in my life.
An absolute hand cannon.
Yeah.
Ball thrown from one end of the field to the other. Absolute hand cannon. When he evolved into a game manager, because time is not on anyone's side. He got to that point. He had the two braces on his knees, couldn't run around like that. I mean, his arm was his arm, but he wasn't as mobile. There wasn't as many of the spectacular throws. He turned into a game manager when my guy, Terrell Davis, showed up, and he'd hand that football off and execute the offense and throw when it was absolutely necessary. He got 2 Super Bowl wins.
You did. I knew you were going to say that, and you're 100% spot on. Except I will remind you of one famous Elway play that will be always the way I remember him: the scramble against the Packers, where at 38 years old he said, "F it, I'm John Elway," and he went airborne and
that was probably and there was probably a 7-yard run, but he got the.
But it's the way I always remember him, because he became John Elway again for that one moment. It's like, I'm John Elway.
Of course, and for our younger audience, the Broncos would go to the Super Bowl, Emil, and everyone talks about the Bills losing 4, but nobody would lose Super Bowls like the Broncos. They would lose them spectacularly.
Oh, you're talking, listen, young fans need to read their football history. The 80s Broncos, which are a testament to how good John Elway was as a quarterback, because they didn't belong in those Super Bowls. Yes. They didn't belong there. No way.
Game changer. But man, when they got there, good Lord, they got their heads handed to them.
Yes.
55-10, 40. What did the Redskins do to them? 46-10 or whatever the hell.
No, the 49ers did them 55-10, which was the all-time record, which my team would have beat with Buffalo if Leon Lett didn't hang the ball out, but that's a different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yes, in closing, fans, listeners, game manager is not a negative term. It's a very positive thing. It's just a way of describing one type of player versus another. All right. In about 4 or 5 months, the NFL is going to go looking for a bunch of game changers. Some of them are going to end up with game managers that are going to win them Super Bowls. Maybe by accident, maybe on purpose. They're going to have lovely game changers that maybe sell some tickets, whatever. But they're going to find game managers, a la a Brock Purdy is in the 7th round.
He's going to probably be your NFL MVP this year.
Right. That's probably another debate we could have.
Yeah, we can have that debate next show. Let's talk about that next show. We'll have another week of data points, and we can go through.
Yeah, that. Should it be Purdy? Should it be
last week's? Let's cover last week's picks and talk about some of the games before we give what everybody's here for. We righted the ship last week. You and I had some rough treading the week before that, but last week we were back to our destroying sports books ways. We went 4-2 overall. Each of us went 2-1.
Can I just tell you how pissed I am, though?
I know why you're pissed.
I'm gonna act like Nick Saban when he's up 45 points and a kid goes in the wrong gap on a blitz, and you go absolutely berserk on him. I go 2-1 last week, as you are going to tell me. And I said this when I made the pick. I had sworn off Green Bay because I just couldn't figure them out, and I had sworn off Tampa Bay because I just couldn't figure them out. And I said the two got to cancel each other out. I got to get a win here. I take the Green Bay Packers at home in December against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. and I got to run back and look and see what the Bucks' record is against Green Bay in the month of December. And I'll be damned, Emil. The Packers got their heads handed to them.
Well, I think you also didn't get much Packer weather that day.
I mean, geez, it's below 50, whatever, something degrees.
Yeah, I mean, that
60.
was a tough one. I mean, those two teams, I could see where you were going with that pick. Tampa Bay, really had lost.
Yeah, I
I
was
think.
going for a loss, apparently.
No, but I mean, I could see the logic. Tampa Bay had lost 5 out of 7 or something like that going in there, but they took care of business, and quietly, Baker Mayfield might be comeback player of the year.
I suppose.
Yeah. Then you had a great pick, though. You had the Dolphins. They did the Jets dirty there.
Oh, that was easy money.
Yeah, that was easy money.
The kind of soothing I needed after
And
that.
you made a great pick on the Texans. I think you saw that one coming. I mean, really overvalued C.J. Stroud being out in that game. Flipped it to Texans getting 3 points.
Can I just tell you something? When I made the pick, C.J. Stroud, in my mind, was playing.
Huh.
Yeah. The whole Case Keenum thing came later on. By the way, I'm a closet Case Keenum fan. So
but you would have made it a stronger pick at that point.
I would have, because you know me and a late quarterback change, it's hard on defenses. So it worked out.
So yeah, you went 2-1. So you're back to 500 in the NFL to go with your Sterling College record, where you're something like 17 games over 500. You're 22-22 in the NFL. My loss last week was on the Giants. For a while, I thought I could sneak a cover in there, but Tommy DeVito turned into a pumpkin on Sunday.
You know what? He extended beyond the time in which he should have.
Yes, he did. He got to his 4th game. Your theory is the 3rd. But the Saints beat them 24-6. That was just not a good pick. I thought the Giants would hang around, and if they did lose a tight one. But nah, they got crushed. Then I had my 2 winners, and I said this ironically to a buddy of mine. Is the Sunday that Dallas beat the Eagles. He's an Eagle fan. My exact quote was, both our teams are going to lose next week. And you know this, the NFL is when teams are evenly matched, and Dallas and Buffalo are very evenly matched talent-wise.
Yes.
A lot of it becomes situational. And that game, I felt like, one, you're going to have a Dallas team that's won 5 in a row, kind of sniffing themselves a little bit, just beat their rivals, the Eagles, by 20 points. They're going to go to Buffalo. Not going to be nice weather. I thought it'd be cold. Instead, it was raining. Okay. And you're going to play a desperate, talented Bills team, a team that you have picked to go to the Super Bowl and still may get there.
Yeah, they're rising out of the coffin.
That's not a situation you want to be in if you're Dallas. And you couple that with, I thought the Cowboys, in the game itself didn't adjust early in the game. The Bills were obviously going to try to run James Cook. After about a quarter, your favorite defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, should have said, whoa, I got to scrap my game plan. He just kept letting the dogs loose, and James Cook would run through the gaps that were being vacated.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what he could have done as an adjustment there if you didn't have it pre-planned.
No. I mean, at some point,
what's the Bell kid from FAMU, the linebacker, the DB turned linebacker,
number 14? Oh yeah,
I thought we'd get more of him on Cook, at least out of the backfield, but
no, it was just one of those picks. I had a feeling. Now, I thought Dallas might lose by 7 to 10 points. I didn't think they'd get beat 31-10, but I felt really good taking Buffalo, even though I wanted to be wrong. And then Monday night, I came back and I didn't.
What a game.
I made this pick. I took Seattle +4. Worst I would have done was a push, but I really thought Geno Smith would play. He didn't play. But again, Seattle was a desperate team, very tough venue. And you could say, well, the Eagles are angry. They were coming in on a 2-game losing streak. They weren't confident and angry. They were just angry, maybe. The confidence.
Also a road favorite in that.
Yes,
situation.
and that's a very tough. When you take a team that's lost 2 in a row, no matter how good they are, and then you tell them they got to go win a game by more than 4 on the road against a desperate opponent. I like Seattle. So I went 2-1. I'm 26-18 on the year. So we're gonna end up with a nice NFL season between us. We're gonna give you 6 winners this week.
Yeah, I want to keep my head above the Mendoza line. All right,
I go first.
I guess I am indeed going first here this week, and that was a little bit of a tough look at things, when I looked at what we've got cooked up this week, but I found me some good ones. All right. You talked about Seattle. You threw them their flowers. Great job against the visiting Philadelphia Eagles, who are atop or near the top of the NFC. Such a great live performance in a standalone game on Monday night. You know me. You know where I'm going
Yes.
on this one. Now they've got to go travel back kind of east, so to speak. They're going to that time zone, and they're going to go play a Tennessee team that people shouldn't really expect a whole lot from. What's Tennessee done? They've got this rookie at quarterback. Is he good? Is he not? We don't know. Tennessee, though, has been I'm not going to use the word solid. They've been a better team, whether people really realize that or not, with this young kid, Will Levis, at quarterback. And they've checkerboarded their last few games. All right. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. This loss last week is pretty disappointing. And I still like Mike Vrabel as a coach, and the team is still playing. We don't have a San Diego, I should say, a Los Angeles Chargers give up situation.
Yeah, they didn't check
Still
out.
playing hard football. They're firmly out of the playoff situation in the AFC, but they're still playing hard-nosed football, and that's going to be a tough kind of an opponent for Seattle. Fresh off of that win and all the hoopla of beating Philadelphia at home on Monday night, now you're on the road, and you're a favorite on the road against a Tennessee team. You're like, whatever, we got to go play this Tennessee. They're still tough, and I like Tennessee as a home underdog in this one. You're still going to get a whole bunch of Derrick Henry. You're still going to get some solid physical defense, and this Levis kid can make plays. And I just don't like Seattle in this situation. I think it's a bad deal for them. It's great that they beat Philadelphia unexpectedly. Now they're going to go hand that win back by losing to Tennessee in that game. All right,
That's
sliding
three,
all
right?
over to the.
You're getting 3 points in that?
Yes, I'll take
Okay.
3 with Tennessee. All right, we're back home here. Another big game for your Dallas Cowboys, Emil. I think they're going to get kind of weary here. All right. Everyone's going to expect Dallas to be all stirred up after getting handled by the Buffalo Bills 31-10 last week, as we talked about. And everyone's going to remember some of the big wins that Dallas has had this year, blowing out teams that were strong. But here's a Dallas team that, Emil, we all know right now are very different on the road than how they are at home. Dallas is it a 2-4 football team on the road?
3-4 on the road, 7-0 in Dallas.
Yeah, 3-4 on the road. And that includes actually 3 double-digit losses on the road. One of those being to Arizona. So I don't trust this team on the road. I don't trust them on back-to-back weeks in the road. I don't trust them traveling east 2 weeks in a row. I don't trust the gauntlet that they have just had to go through, which is a Seattle Monday night game, or was it a Sunday night game? It was a primetime game, a game against Philadelphia, a game against Buffalo. Now you got to go take on a Miami team that came up with some defense last week. And this Miami football team is desperate to show everyone they can beat a team with a winning record. And this is a great situation for them. Beating the Dallas Cowboys can get them to wash away a couple of sins that they have had this year, and where they couldn't beat a team with a winning record. Prime opportunity for the Miami Dolphins, and I think they're going to be on point here. I think we get Tyreek back this week, and there's just so many weapons. And I think in this situation here, I like the Dolphins as a 1.5 point favorite. Anything under a field goal, I was going to like them, and 1.5 is just gravy for me. All right, I'm going big game hunting. All right.
Yes.
Normally, I just try to find a little offshoot games. I'm going to slide all the way to Monday night. Speaking of on a roll, that's the San Francisco 49ers. They are just crushing folks left and right, and they've run through a nice little gamut themselves. Philadelphia, Seattle, blowout wins right there. Seattle twice, and you saw what they did to the Cowboys. So everyone's going to be on their jock, so to speak. However, Emil, I saw some sloppiness in that game against the Arizona Cardinals. I saw them an inability to handle a run game by the Cardinals. The Cardinals rushed for 200 plus yards against San Francisco. That's the sloppiness that can creep up on you. And this is a really bad time for that to be happening, because coming into town are the Baltimore Ravens, who have only lost a handful of games this year, 3 to be exact, Emil, and 2 of those games have been by a field goal, and the other one by a touchdown against a divisional rival in the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were interested in playing really good football back at the time. This is a very good Baltimore football team in all phases of the game. Yes, they're down on running back, but what does Baltimore do? They pull running backs out of anywhere. They just pull them out. We've got another one in the storage room. They're going to pull that out. Plus, you've got Lamar. I fully expected this to be San Francisco 3, maybe 3.5. And at 3.5, I was ready to pounce on Baltimore. For me to see it at 5, I'm all over this. Give me Baltimore. San Francisco is feeling and smelling themselves. And I just love fading teams that are strong favorites a week after they've given up 200+ yards rushing. And that's the situation.
Look at you picking the 2 big games on the board. So
look at me, right?
Let me
look
recap
at me.
this. You got the Tennessee Titans +3 over the Seahawks. You've got the Dolphins giving 1.5 over my Cowboys. And then finally, you've got the Baltimore Ravens catching 5 in San Francisco against the 49ers.
Yes, can't wait for that game.
I'll give you mine. I'm going to start where we agree. And again, full disclaimer, I'm going to be rooting for the other team. I don't like this situation for all the reasons you highlighted. And until the Cowboys, even though I'm a fan, win a game like this, I'll fade them, okay? Until they show me they're mentally tough, which is what this would take to get beat in Buffalo, give up a couple hundred yards rushing in the rain, go back on the road to Miami. You have to be mentally tough. And until they prove that to me, I'm going to be Missouri. That means show me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm gonna take the Dolphins and give the 1.5, just like you. So we agree there. Another game I like, and I usually don't like, you kid me all the time about fading them. I like the Lions this week, giving 3. I think the Vikings.
This guy's all over Detroit Lions football this year.
Yeah, but I think the Vikings, that game against the Bengals, is going to have a carryover effect. They had control of that game. They gave it away. They lost in overtime, on the road last week. The Lions come in here in a really odd situation. The Lions are 10-4. The Vikings are 7-7. They're going to play twice in the last 3 weeks, right? Sandwiched in there, there's a high probability the Lions will go to Dallas and get toasted, because if Chad and I are right about the Cowboys, they're going to be going into a hornet's nest with Dallas on a 2-game losing streak. So this is a big game for the Lions, because you lose here, you lose in Dallas. All of a sudden, that game the last week of the season against the Vikings is for the division title. So I think that the Lions go out and take care of business this week, wrap up the division title for themselves, and start focusing on seeding. I think they go handle the Vikings. They have a better roster than the Vikings. Vikings are playing their backup quarterback. I'm going to take the Lions -3. And then finally, I mean, how many games in a row can the Eagles lose? I'll be honest. When they were 10-1 playing San Francisco, I told you this. They're not a 10-1 football team. The Eagles had some good bounces throughout the year, some good calls. When they were 10-1, they were probably playing more like a 7-4 team. But at this point, they're also not a team that's 2-14, and that's what they're playing like right now. And I think they're going to come into this game highly motivated. They can't afford a 4-game losing streak. They certainly, primetime Christmas Day, Christmas evening, I believe that game is, against the hated Giants. They're 11.5-point favorites. I don't see how the Giants get to 10. Okay. So for me, this has Blowout City on Christmas written all over it. It's like a present for the Eagles. End your 3-game losing streak. Take care of your division rival. I think they do. This game feels like 38-10 to me. So give me the Eagles -11.5.
All right, recapping it, he agrees. Emil and I both agree on the Miami Dolphins at home as 1.5-point favorites. He is going to hop on the Detroit Lions this time after fading them several times this year, but he's been Mr. Detroit picking the Lions this year, Lions games. So he likes them as 3-point favorites. And then he is going to lay the mother load of points with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I believe the number is 12. Is that correct?
I had 11.5.
11.5. All right. 11.5 it is. If you're
and I have some services to do for our loyal fans, those who haven't listened to the Bowl Bonanza show, which was last week. We gave about 10 bowl games each. I'm going to tell you the ones that are going to go off now before our next show, which is next, we'll record it next Wednesday. So I'm going to go through the 27th for you. So far, Chad's given out one pick, which is a winner. If you didn't listen, you missed it. He gave you Texas Tech -3. Nice pick there, by the way, over Cal.
Thank you there,
He's
Mike.
got three more going between now and the next show. He's got Northwestern +7. He's got Tulane +8. And he's got Texas A&M -3. So those three picks will go off before we're on doing another show, for those of you following along. I took a loss in my first bowl game. I don't know what Boise State did.
They started off good.
They started off good. I don't know. I give UCLA and Chip Kelly some credit for winning that game, because they certainly shouldn't have been as motivated as they were. So I took a loss in my first bowl game. I have 4 of them going off before our next show. I've got Air Force +3. I like Chad. I also like Northwestern +7. I gave San Jose State -10. Now, these were all lines at the time of our bowl bonanza. They could have changed. And I have Tulane, like you, as well, +8. So that's everything that's going off until you hear from us again.
Yes, and if you guys are interested in hearing our reasons for those picks, just hop on and check out last week's show. And it's, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the thumbnail for it. It's the Bowl Bonanza show. So that's if you want the reasons why, or if you just want to be wise and blindly follow us, then Emil just put you up to date on what we've got going off until the next show. All right, so that's it. The picks are in for the Bowls. The picks are in for the NFL, and we hit some pretty nice topics here
and let's hope Santa's good to everybody, because we won't see you again.
We will not see you guys until after Christmas. Hey, listen, for those of you that are watching us here on YouTube, one of the easier things you could do on this, as opposed to, listening to us on your podcast streaming device, is drop a comment here on the show. So if you have any comments at all about anything that we've shared on this show, or you want to say our pink stick, our pick stink, our sticks pink, or you love our picks, whatever the case may be, drop a comment here on the show. It obviously helps with our engagement, helps to bring more folks in, and we just love to have you, more and more folks in here watching sensible sports discussion between two guys with their heads kind of screwed on straight. Might be different if you ask our wives, but at least to you guys here, we've got it all together. All right, that's it for us. We want you guys to enjoy your happy holidays coming ahead. Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your time with your family. And as Emil said, we hope that Santa is good to you. On top of that, enjoy all of the football that's coming your way, bowl games, NFL action that's coming up. And have no fear, we will be here right after you clean up all of that crap that's underneath the tree after you tear open those gifts, to break down what was and tell you what's going to be. So that's it for us. For Emil Calomino, I'm Chad Wilson. Thanks for watching the Two Chumps Football Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. We will be at you guys again next week. Thanks for watching.